Hi everyone, I hope you are having a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Manifest Your Greatness. Today I briefly wanted to talk about water and the knowledge held in water. And I specifically wanted to reference a book. I've referenced it over and over again in videos and podcasts I've done in the past. But the book is called Be Like Water, My Friend by Shannon Lee. Be Like Water, My Friend. It's the teachings of Bruce Lee. There are so many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful anecdotes in this book. And just it's full of beautiful examples of how we can use water as a proxy for ourselves and our journey through life. And one of the things that's mentioned, and I'll kind of paraphrase and expand on it a little bit, but it talks about how water takes the shape of what it happens to be in, or if it's in a river, it flows. If it's a wave on the ocean, it can crash into the beach. If it's in a cup, it can fill the cup, but it never loses its essence. It never loses its essence. It's always water, and it always will figure out the best way to get to where it's headed. Now, what I wanted to expand on that with was that we can also look at this as a metaphor, or as we can think of the image of water, especially if we think about a river. If we think about our lives as a river, right? We are flowing, right? We're heading towards our destination, wherever it may be. Ultimately the ocean, where we're all together again, right? So heading down this river, and of course there's going to be eddies and rocks, and we're going to be, water's going to be sloshing out of the river and coming back in and hitting rocks and having to find its way around. And I like to think of all of these instances where we find ourselves smashing up against the shores of the banks of the river, or getting caught in eddies, or coming up against obstacles and having to redirect. I think of those as setbacks, or anything that we've been through. It could be trauma, it could be grief, it could be injury, it could be anything. And the thing about water is that, of course, it always tries to find its center again, right? And I think that's really, really important for us to keep in mind, is that we can get tossed about, we can be thrown around, but what's most important is for us to find our center as efficiently and as gracefully as possible. So when we find ourselves in these situations where we're dealing with difficulties, we don't ignore the difficulties, right? The rock is a rock. It's not going anywhere. It's still there. We're still having to figure out how to get around it. So we be with that, right? We understand it. We learn from it. We try to figure out, okay, why is this happening? What could I have done differently? How am I going to get around this? So it's not about ignoring the obstacle. It's not about, we're just going to kind of cruise on by. No, we don't do that. And ignoring the obstacle, of course, is not recommended at all, right? We always want to learn from these things that we run up against. So that's something that we can keep in mind, is that if we are shaken about, right? If we're hitting turbulence in our journey, we need to just kind of accept it. We need to understand it. We need to learn from it. But then we can't linger there, right? We can't just hang out in that fog. We've got to figure out a way to gracefully and efficiently get ourselves back on track, right? Find our center and keep on going. Another book that is also relevant here is Masaru Emoto's The Secret Messages in Water. That's another beautiful book. I highly recommend that. Masaru Emoto, The Hidden Messages in Water. And what he talks about is that in water, we can see our emotions displayed. We can see actual proof. So if we are in an emotional state, if we are mad, and he's done lots and lots of experiments with this, and it's been proven over and over and over again. You take jars of water, and you look at one, and all you think is mad thoughts, and you're angry and everything. Or even if you just put a tape on the bottle that says angry, and it doesn't matter what language. That's the really interesting thing, right? It doesn't even matter what language. The water gets it. And then there's another water bottle jar over here, and you're thinking happy thoughts around it, and then you are thinking positively, And if you take those 2 jars of water and then run them through a process where you can see the actual water crystals, the crystals are completely different. And this could be the same water. We're talking about the same water from the tap or from a bottle, whatever it may be. And the beauty in the bottle, in the crystals in the bottle that we had happy, positive thoughts around is stunning. It's, beautiful crystals. And then the one where we're thinking negative thoughts and we're angry, it almost looks deformed, right? It's just, you can tell that it's not, the symmetry is off. It's not beautiful at all. So that's something else we can keep in mind in our journey, right? If we think of ourselves as water, we're made up of around 60% water, right? So that's something we can also keep in mind, that our emotions, the way we think, right, that affects our physiology. So I think that kind of ties those 2 concepts together a little bit. We think about ourselves as being water, being on this journey, running up against obstacles, being sloshed around, trying to gracefully and efficiently find our center and get back going where we need to go. And at the same time, thinking about those emotions, right? Thinking about that anger. We don't want to carry that with us. When we're hitting the rock, of course we're going to be upset. Of course, we're going to be disoriented and frustrated. That's okay. But we don't want to take that with us. We want to process that and then get back into positive thoughts and get back into focusing on what we need to get done and doing the best we can and putting all our efforts towards that, right? So that's enough out of me today. That's all I wanted to talk about. Please, please, please check out those books. They are phenomenal. There's lots of great insight in them. And I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Stay strong, stay humble, and I look forward to seeing you on a YouTube video in the near future.